All right. I feel the need to address this because I know reading this book on Malcolm X made me realize that I am kind of full of crap. In the sense that the Nation of Islam, as it still is today, largely, is not an overtly political group, and that they weren't a direct threat to the U.S. Mostly, as the book says, is that they were a fairly conservative organization that preached more of a haram view of Islam. And Malcolm X, of course, was embarrassed when he went to Egypt, for example, and could not speak Arabic and didn't understand the hadiths or other aspects of Islam. He's, you know, he felt a little embarrassed by it. But, past that, though, is it showed how Malcolm X was a strong leader, but his but the organization he was representing, the Nation of Islam, before he left in 1964, was, preached being non-political. And I think, I preach a lot about you shouldn't be involved with political parties. And I say to myself, well, you know, can you be a political person, talk about political issues, but then not be officially part of a party? And you can. I think you can. But I think to myself, you eventually have to choose a side. And you have to at least give lip service to a group. So while I say be careful of joining groups, this and that, ultimately you're going to make your own choices, right? That's what I talk about. And I'm having an inner debate with myself about whether what I talk about is relevant or if it really works. Like I say, part of me wants more recognition or whatever, more followers or whatever, but I also know that you know, there are so many people that talk about politics as it is. And so, like I say, I'm just a guppy in a big pool, really. And like I said, maybe that's somewhat cope and just wham wham, but it makes me question some of these things. Obviously, Malcolm X is interesting to see the excitement and the yeah sort of attitude that existed back in the early 1960s. Talking about I'm up to 1961 right now, where Malcolm X met with Maya Angelou, and of course later met her in Ghana, apparently. But anyway, it makes me think of the staleness and the sort of falling in line that we see now. You know, sorry about that. We see this kind of everybody falling in line. Hold on. This falling in line between, or this falling in line of a lot of the lefties behind Joe Biden, broadly speaking. Now, they will talk about issues of climate change, this and that, but it's just words. Do you see them actually doing anything? Do you see them actually giving concrete answers other than LARP, like people like Vosh say, where we're going to build refugee cities? Where? How big? Except, I don't know. And you see the right wing, of course, just still talking about their, and when I speak on the right, when I say right and left, I know that these are widely different things. It's like you'll see people like Benji, that Australian YouTuber, who he still says nonsense like join a party. And to me, that's just empty rhetoric. It's just, you can't just join a party and just think, oh, yeah, it's going to be great. I mean, even people like Danky Kane, which is saying how boomer and how, kind of just past due, I guess, just kind of the anemic sort of attitude that a lot of these older communist groups in the U.S. have, are out of date, these anachronistic views where it's just like, everyone wants to be Lenin and this and that. It's just like, and then of course everyone's like, well, yeah, okay, there's no white proletariat, there's no, workers in factories and stuff like that. Yeah, that doesn't really exist. So we're going to try to talk to the lumpen proletariat. And it's just, I don't know. It's interesting to see, at least, in reading about these debates and whatnot. And you think about the debates today that people talk about, and it's like Jordan Peterson versus Slavoj Žižek. Is that really, I don't know. I mean, it's the same thing when people want to say this about Derek Chauvin, right? Derek Chauvin could possibly, like I said, I still think that overall he's a patsy. And I think in general, a lot of the TRS folks make him into like a white patsy. And it's just like, come on, man. He was, like I say, he was kind of the typical white dude. He was married to an Asian woman, this and that. It's just, he was a fall guy. But that's, anyway, past that though. He could possibly be released based on, a lot of mishandling and everything else, including a jury member that was wearing, an MLK shirt, right? So, I don't know. Overall, it just feels dead to me, overall. Yeah. You had, 2020, you had the crazy summer and all that with, Chaz and all that other stuff. But it's like, that was temporary. It was just so, it was just goofy. Like I said, I mean, all this stuff, I mean, this is the problem with the internet, is that it turns everything into a circus. It turns everything into a ha, look at this moment type of thing, That's why people prefer to look at the past and say how cool it was back then. Really, it's the same as it is today, but it's just not filmed. It wasn't filmed, or at least it was filmed in a much better way, right? Nowadays, you just see it all, and you're just like, oh, that's how it is. Oh, I don't know, but I just kind of feel like, everything's just kind of, that's why I talk about balkanization and collapse, because I feel like that's what's going to occur. Because what's really keeping this, I mean, that's really the question I always ask, and I hope, I don't stay concrete in an answer completely, but I always feel like, what keeps this country together? What really keeps it together? It's not the idea of a white picket fence. It's not the idea of, a freedom or whatever, right? I think some boomers believe that, but it's like, what's keeping everyone else here? It's just, is it just a general malaise? I don't know, right? Like I say, and I hope to continue to ask this question and come back to it. Same thing with the question of, what are you going to do about it? That's really the question you need to continue to ask people of the left and the right. What are you going to do about it? When they say about police brutality, what are you going to do about it? Okay, this that you want to talk about defunding the police. Okay, that has occurred in some ways, but now it's getting bad in Baltimore. So what's your next step? And continue on from there, right? You got to keep hammering these folks and say, what are you going to keep doing? And if they want to throw you out, they throw you out. But people, you have to put pressure on people in some way, me included. I live a fairly middle class lifestyle, obviously. I don't know. But yeah, you have to be able to question these things and not just blindly say, well, yeah, you should join a party. There's so many irrelevant parties in the U.S. It's two parties. It's a 2-lane highway, Democrat or Republican. And of course people are up in arms about, oh my gosh, the Republicans are going to, they're throwing out people like Liz Cheney and whatnot. I mean, you're defending a neocon. But okay, go ahead and defend a neocon just because, I couldn't care less about either party's relevancy, to be honest with you. The individuals, okay, yeah, I can talk to them and figure out, okay, this is how the system works. All right. But about the actual parties themselves, I don't care. Just tell us how we get power and then, stick around and keep these things going. But I don't care about, being loyal to a party, And I know that kind of, I understand that kind of goes against the idea of like a vanguard and everything else that Marxist Leninists talk about. But right now, what sort of loyalty do you build? It's like, wow, okay, it's like even for anarchists, it's like, all right, so you provide, funds and you provide food to, victims and whatnot, and like floods or something like that, right? Okay. I'm trying to think of the word now, but I don't care. But what do you, that's just temporary stuff. That's pretty much just a form of charity. Okay. How do you get them into your movement? That's the whole thing. We've seen plenty of martyrs, this and that. We've seen Willem van Spronsen, of course, the anarchist, who still talked about, of course, and talking about, of course, the Charlottesville gal. I genuinely cannot remember her name. It's just I cannot think of it. But yeah, I'm not gonna make a joke. Don't worry. Or people like James Alex Fields, right? He's a martyr as well for the far right or whatever. Or even for conservatives, people like Donald Trump, right? Or Alex Jones to a point. These are they're martyrs. There's plenty of them, but not much actual wins. Not many actual real victories. I guess maybe loosely you could say that, the anti-transgender laws in southern states is a win. I don't know, though. A lot of that stuff is being reversed, including in the state of Texas. A lot of that has been reversed. So I feel like these are laws that are going to be overturned anyway. It's just something for people to maul and complain about for a little bit, and then we'll drop it. So I don't know. It's interesting to read and kind of get the sense of, the excitement and everything else, and kind of just the malaise that we have today. But yeah, I could rant and rave for a while. I'm going to try to knock down some more of this book. I'm up to page, what is it here? 190 of, let's see here. And the book is how long officially? 592 pages. So I'm getting there. I'm narrowing it down. Like I say, I think this book has a lot of detail, and I've repeated before. But yeah, Manning Marable apparently wasn't a doctor. So Manning Marable, Malcolm X, A Life of Reinvention. A lot of people consider it watered down, and and there were a lot of mistakes. I think there was a gentleman who knew Malcolm X who said that there were 25 errors in the book, and there was a response to the book as well, which I may, if I have enough money, I'll probably get that and see what errors they're talking about. But yeah, like I say, I think it's interesting because other than reading articles or being like, the typical sort of white nationalist sort of thing where it's just like, well, Malcolm X worked with, you know, Commander Rockwell. Yeah, that's true, but you know, Malcolm X also called Rockwell later on and said, "You bet, your guys better not beat up any more black folks down in the South or in Georgia, or else we're going to have troubles." This and that, and Commander Rockwell promptly hung up the phone. So like I say, I don't know, man. It is what it is, though. Like I say, yeah, it's just it's a complicated thing, man. It's a lot to take in. What was the 10 bestseller list? Oh, really? Huh. Yeah. Also finds itself under excruciating siege from a legion of detractors who count themselves admirers and disciples connected with Malcolm X. Okay, I know I probably read this already. Yeah, I still, like I say, I still think it's a good book. That's not to say, yeah, Jared Ball and Todd Stephen Burrows' book has stated that Marable's book is a corporate product, a simple commodity to be traded, but for more than money, it is a carefully constructed ideological assault on history, on radical politics, on a historical and cultural memory. And it's interesting because they count this guy, Manning Marable, as an activist of some sort. I don't know. Like I say, there's always debate about how legit some activists are. It's just like anything else. Yeah. On historical and cultural memory, on the very idea of revolution. Huh. I may look at this book and see. Wonder if it's out. Or maybe, yeah. Let me see here. I'll see what it is. Anyway, hopefully y'all enjoyed that video. It's kind of a long rant and rave, but you should think while reading a book and not just take everything for what it is and try to, just kind of put it through your own filter and try to understand it from that lens. Anywho, hopefully y'all enjoyed that. See you later and a goodbye.